व्यासं दोषयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवतीमुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरोन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण। So we'll read the Dhruva Maharaj's, continue the Dhruva Maharaj story. Last week we discussed about Dhruva Maharaj's lamentation, his repentance. He was repenting for his past material desires. So we discussed that. After describing Dhruva Maharaj's lamentation, repentance, Maitreya Rishi continues the description. Maitreya Uvacha
Maitreya Uvacha
न वै मुकुन्दस्य पदारविन्दयोर्
Navai Mukundasya Padaravindayo
रजोजुषस्थात भवादृशा जनाः
Rajo Jusasatat Bhavadrisha Jana
वाञ्छन्ति तद्धास्यमृतेर्तमात्मनो
Vanchanti Taddasyam Rate Ratam Atmano
यदृच्छया लब्धमनः समृद्धयः
Yadrichaya Labdamana Samradaya. Translation. The great sage Maitreya continued, My dear Vidura, persons like you who are pure devotees of the lotus feet of Mukunda, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who can offer liberation, and who are always attached to the honey of his lotus feet, are always satisfied in serving at the lotus feet of the Lord. In any condition of life, such persons remain satisfied, and thus they never ask the Lord for material prosperity.
न वै मुकुन्दस्य पदारविन्दयो रजोजुषस्तात भवादृशा जना persons like you rajojusha jusha those who taste jusha means taste those who taste the raja dust from the padaravinda mukundasya padaravinda dust from the lotus feet of mukunda. Persons like you who taste the dust from the lotus feet of mukunda na vanchanti they do not desire tad dasyam ritertam atmanah They do not desire anything for themselves except service to him. Tad dasyam rite. Rite means accept. Except tad dasyam, except the service to Krishna, they don't desire anything else. Why? Yadrichaya labdamana samruddhayaha. Labdamana, their minds are completely satisfied with whatever object comes to them by chance. Yadrichaya labdamana samruddhaya. So having no material desire would have been, that means would have been best. Rajo Jusha means those who relish the dust from the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. They do not desire anything for themselves. That means if a person is really tasting devotional service, if a person is really having a higher taste of uh, devotional service to Krishna, the sign of that is that he does not desire anything for himself. He does not desire any sense gratification for himself. And he is just satisfied with whatever comes on its own accord. Yadrichaya labdamana samruddhaya. So we saw in the previous shlokas, the last six shlokas, Dhruva Maharaj, yeah, he began his devotional service with a desire to get a kingdom greater than that of Lord Brahma. But then he became so completely purified that when he got darshan of the Lord, he did not ask for those initial desires, he only asked for association of the devotees. But when the Lord chose to also fulfill his previous desires, apart from giving him prema, the Dhruva Maharaj deeply repented for having desired uh, those material things. So we see in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Rupa Goswami discusses about the five primary rasas: Shanta rasa, Dasya rasa, Sakya rasa, Vatsalya rasa, and Madhurya rasa. And then he also discusses seven secondary rasas: Virya rasa, Hasya rasa, Karuna rasa, Bhayanaka rasa, Vismaya rasa, Raudra rasa, and Bibhatsa rasa. Bibhatsa rasa means what? Bibhatsa rasa means Bibhatsa means there is a disgust, a feeling of disgust. And the Bibhatsa rasa is also called as Jugupsa rasa, a feeling of disgust. So when a person actually has a taste is experiencing a superior taste of bhakti, that is manifest by a feeling of disgust towards inferior things. So, like, we are all practitioners of bhakti. Many times we still have attraction towards different worldly things. But advanced devotee, he has a genuine feeling of disgust towards things other than Krishna. For example, one of the example, the Dhruva Maharaj example. Dhruva Maharaj was feeling disgust, he was feeling repentant for having desired, for having those material desires in the past. Huh. This is a sign that he has developed love for Krishna. Another example, in the Bhagavatam 10th canto, 60th chapter. 10th canto, 60th chapter, Rukmini Devi. Krishna teased Rukmini Devi and told that you have made a wrong choice by selecting me. But even now, you can actually choose somebody else. You made a wrong choice in selecting me. Initially, Rukmini Devi becomes unconscious on hearing that, and later Rukmini Devi gets up, and then she gives a point by point rebuttal to every reason which Krishna gave that Rukmini made a wrong decision. So one of the shlokas she says, this is 10.60.45. त्वक्श्मश्रुरोमणककेशपिनद्दमन्तर् मांसास्ति रक्तकृमिविट् कपपित्तवातम् जीवञ्चवं भजति कान्तमतिर्विमूढा या ते पदाब्जमकरन्दमजिग्रती स्त्री. Rukmini Devi says that a woman who fails to relish the fragrance of the honey of your lotus feet, such a woman becomes totally befooled. And such a woman, that means who fails to relish the fragrance of the lotus feet of Krishna, such a woman accepts as her husband or lover a living corpse covered with skin, whiskers, nails, head hair, and body hair, and filled with flesh, bones, blood, parasites, feces, mucus, bile, and air. She gives a graphic description of what the material body is filled with. Tvak, smashru, roma, naka, kesha, pinaddamanta, mamsasti, rakta, krimivit, kapha, pitta, vatam. So she is actually feeling a disgust. Krishna is telling Rukmini Devi to accept some other man. She made a wrong choice in accepting Krishna. But Rukmini Devi is exhibiting her disgust for marrying somebody apart from Krishna. A person who has tasted the bhakti rasa, devotional service unto your lotus feet, how can such a person, how can such a woman desire some other man who is actually, whose body is filled with these things? So this is an example of Jugupsa rasa. And then Dromara's example. Another example, this is a famous example spoken by Yamunacharya. So Yamunacharya, Yadavadi, Yadavadi mama cheta Krishna padaravinde Navanava daman udyatam rantumasit Tadavadi bata nari sangame smaryamane Bhavati mukhavikara sushtu nishtivanam cha. Since my mind has been engaged in the service of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, and I have been enjoying an ever new transcendental humor, whenever I think of sex life with a woman, my face at once turns from it and I spit at the thought. So, this is also a example of a devotee who is experiencing a superior pleasure of Krishna Bhakti. He feels a disgust towards the thought of sense gratification. Narada Muni, another example. Narada Muni, who is so absorbed in pure devotional service, he condemns all the books written by Vyasadev in which pure devotional service is not explicitly glorified. जुगुप्सितं धर्म कृतेनुशासत स्वभावरक्तस्य महान् व्यतिक्रम यदुवाक्यतो धर्म इतीतरस्थितो न मन्यते तस्य निवारणं जनः. Narada Muni, he Jugupsitam, the verse itself starts with Jugupsitam, first canto, fifth chapter. That by glorifying the path of Karma Kanda, mixed devotional service, Jnana Kanda, the paths other than Bhakti Yoga, especially because you have mentioned in your books, common people will think that because you have mentioned they are all perfect, they are the best paths, they will not desire to give it up. In this way, you have actually uh, Narada Muni is condemning all the other books written by Vyasadeva because there the pure devotional service is not exclusively glorified. Huh. So Rupa Goswami also gives a certain example. So this is, I think, if you take the Nectar of Devotion, you have to check it 47th, 48th chapter towards the end of the Nectar of Devotion. Hmm. So he says that uh, this about this Jugupsa rasa or Bibhatsa rasa. He says, astonishingly, those persons who previously were clever in methods of seducing women and dedicated to lust, ruled over lecherous cities, now continuously chant the name of the Lord with the tears in their eyes. When they see the face of a woman, they twist their faces and becoming motionless, they spit at the thought. This is an example of a Jugupsa Rati, explains. So, a person, the symptoms of Jugupsa Rasi is that a person spits at the thought. A person distorts the face in disgust or covers the nose. Like that. So, he gives two examples. Disgust for the body, this kind of Jugupsa Rati is of two types. One is Vivekaja, which arises from discrimination. Another is the Prayiki, which is a general disgust. For example, disgust for the body arising from analytical contemplation in certain devotees who have developed rati for Krishna, who have developed love for Krishna, is called disgust arising from discrimination or vivekaja jugupsa rati. The first type of jugupsa rati is vivekaja jugupsa rati. Because of having developed attraction for Krishna, having experienced a superior taste in bhakti, a person, by his discrimination, by his analytical contemplation, he develops a disgust for sense gratification. For example, a devotee is praying. When a person develops attraction for the Lord, how can he be attracted to this body made of flesh, smelling of raw meat, composed of thick blood covered by skin? This is similar to the same verse similar to the verse spoken by Rukmini Devi. Another type of disgust is the prayiki. That means disgust arising in all types of people and in all sorts of circumstances. From impure or foul smelling things is called prayiki jugupsa. A devotee is praying, saying that, O enemy of Kamsa, O Krishna, trapped in this body, living in the mother's womb, in contact with the thick muck of sin, covered with urine and blood. I am distressed in the heart. O ocean of mercy, please be merciful to me, who am unable to worship you. Hmm. The devotee is actually praying that, remembering that how the condition of living in the womb, being surrounded by stool, urine, and mucus. Thinking about that, a devotee is feeling a disgust and is praying to Krishna. Another example Rupa Goswami gives about the prayers offered by the kings who were held captive by Jarasandha. So those kings are saying that we have been thrown by the personification of death called Jarasandha into his prison, the summation of all the hells, which destroys vision with piles of stool from sick humans lying in a yard infested with terrible worms, whose stink makes the nose unsteady. O destroyer of hell, remembering you, we maintain our lives. So Jarasandha, he had captured some 20,000, 700 or something like that, 20,000 kings. And he wanted to offer them as a Narabali to Kala Bhairava, I think, and to get huge power. These were kings, and he put them into the jail, and to a jail which was like a concentration camp. And you see the description of the jail. In the Hitler's concentration camp, if you had read those stories, many times like so many hundreds of people were put in a small cell. They were they had to pass stool there only. They had to live. Sometimes they were told to they were forced to eat the stool also like that. Hmm. So Jarasandha. So these kings were saying that when they are thinking about the jail prison cell in which Jarasandha had put them, and those in that prison cell, it was so dark they could not see the rays of the sun only. And it was filled with dead bodies also, filled with terrible worms and stool from the sick humans lying in a yard. Uh, and the stink makes the nose unsteady. We are living in this condition. But when we remember you, the remembrance of you is only making us sustain our lives. So here they have developed attraction for Krishna. They developed attraction for Krishna. But living in that condition, they are also experiencing Jugupsarati. Hmm. So here we can see the Dhruva Maharaj's example is also it's an example of a Jugupsarati. Because of having developed a superior taste of Krishna Bhakti, he felt disgusted towards his material desires. So Maitreya Rishi is discussing about the nature of a pure devotee. So Prabhupada says that Krishna is the enjoyer, proprietor, and the controller. Bhoktaram Yajnatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. Hmm. When a person understands these three principles, then a person Jnatva Bhoktaram Yajnatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suhridam Sarvabhutanam Jnatva Mam Shantim Ruchyati. Then such a person attains real peace. Hmm. And when a person attains real peace, when he is really satisfied, then he does not hanker after material prosperity. So karmis, jnanis and yogis, all three are actually selfish because they hanker for their personal happiness. Devotee is called as Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakali Ashanta Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Atayeva Shanta. So this verse is explained by Prabhupada. So the Lord's feet are compared to the lotus wherein there is a saffron dust. So a devotee is always engaged in drinking the honey from the lotus feet of the Lord. Just like there is another shloka in the Bhagavatam, 4th canto, 30th chapter. A bumblebee is going from one flower to another flower to drink honey. And he keeps going to different flower. Finally, when the bumblebee comes to the Parijata flower, the bumblebee is so satisfied, it never leaves the Parijata flower. Parijatenja labde सारंगोन्यान्न सेवते त्वदङ्घ्रिमूलमासाद्य साक्षात् किं किं वृणीमहि. Just like a bumblebee having come to Parijata flower, it no longer desires to go to any other flower. Similarly, when a living entity comes to the point of tasting Bhakti Rasa, he no longer desires anything else. So that is that's also a verse connected to this. So when we say devotee is nishkama, that means he is free from material desires. It's not he has spiritual desires. Because a living entity cannot be vacant. He cannot give up desires. He has spiritual desires. Uh, so actually, every one of us already has an arrangement for our standard of material comforts. So in this verse, the last line you see, Yadrichaya Labdamanas Samruddhaya. Such a pure devotee, he accepts whatever comes on its own accord. Whatever is his own quota, he accepts it. Ishavasyam idam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bunjita magrita kasya siddhanam. A person who understands the proprietorship of the Supreme Lord, he accepts his own quota and does not interfere in others' quota. So this saves time for executing Krishna consciousness. Next shloka. Akanyatmajamayantam
आकर्ण्यात्मजमायात्नं यात्नतं
samparetya yatha
संपरेत्य गत संपरेत्य यथागतम्
Rajana Shraddadhe Badram
राजान श्रद्धते भद्रम्
Abhadrasya Kuto Mama.
अभद्रस्य कुतो मम. Translation. When King Uttanapada heard that his son Dhruva was coming back home, as if coming back to life after death, he could not put his faith in this message, for he was doubtful of how it could happen. He considered himself the most wretched, and therefore he thought that it was not possible for him to attain such good fortune.
If you remember, Uttanapad was lamenting after Dhruva left the forest. So Uttanapad came to know that Dhruva is returning. Akanya Atmajam. Atmajam means his son. Ayantam. Ayantam. Samparetya Yatagatam. Yeah, like as if a person who is on the deathbed, when he's about to die, but when he comes out of the situation, how it will be. Today, one devotee was sharing that how uh, he had a very health issue few years back. He was taking some vegetable juice, then some bitter lauki juice he took, and that created so much of vomiting. It became so serious that he vomited blood and he became almost unconscious. He was going into coma. They were trying to take him to hospital. Before taking him to hospital, they had to put some IV line and then take him to hospital because it was so serious. And then somehow he was saved. And then, so he said that he was thinking that I'm almost dead now because he was going into coma. That's what he thought. But somehow he came out of the situation. So Uttanapad was practically on the deathbed. Samparetya yatagatam, as if coming from the death. Rajana shraddade bhadram, abhadrasya kuto mama. Na shraddade, he could not believe it. Abhadrasya kuto mama, how can abhadra, a rascal like me, bhadram, how can a low class person like me have good fortune? Because going to the forest filled with ferocious animals, 5-year-old son going there, coming back alive, something very rare actually. Uh, Coming back, Kshatriyas go to forest for killing the animals to get some practice for the war. The 5-year-old boy went to the forest all alone and he came back alive. So Uttanapad thought that I am such a wretched person, but how can I have good fortune? So we see generally like in the Gita course, we have 6-day Gita course. Huh? One of the most interesting topic, or the topic in which after that people like get like a eureka moment, like some understanding. One of the most interesting topic anybody knows in the Gita course. 6-day JOSD course if you have attended. One of the interesting topic is that why do bad things happen to good people? In that we speak about law of karma and in detail. So this question is interesting to everyone. And many people have this question. Mostly we think many people have this question because they think that I am such a good person. Why such a bad thing is happening in my life? I have performed so much of Nama Japa. I have been pious. I have not harmed anyone. But why such a bad thing is happening in my life? But here, Uttanapad is exactly having an opposite question. So when a person is having why bad thing is happening to such a good person like me, this question is coming from a already somewhat from a egoistic platform. A person is already assuming that I am such a good person, I am such a pious person, I am such a great person. So that conception is already there. And when a suffering comes and he is asking that question. But a person who is more grounded, a more humble person asks a question, why why a good thing is happening to a bad person like me? Huh. I forget, I don't know. There is one tennis player, famous tennis player. He had won different Grand Slams. And he was diagnosed with a certain terminal disease. So that time he made a famous statement. He said that people asked, people were asking, they were shocked to hear that he has diagnosed with a terminal cancer, terminal disease. So he said, in this world, so many people play tennis. Out of that, few hundred people are qualified to play in the Grand Slam. Currently, Wimbledon is going on. Few hundred people, exactly don't remember, few hundred people are qualified to play in the Grand Slam. Out of those few hundred people, one person wins that Grand Slam Open. To win, say, Wimbledon is something very prestigious. Wimbledon, US Open, Australian Open, French Open. So but I have won those Grand Slam so many times. In this planet, so many crores of people are there. Out of that, few people are qualified to play in the Grand Slam. Out of that, one person wins, and I have won the Grand Slam Open so many times. And so many times I won, I never asked the question, why such a good thing is happening in my life? Uh, but now, so why should I ask the question now? Why such a bad thing is happening in my life? Means like he took that in a very positive spirit. If so many good things happen in our life, that time we never ask that why such a good thing is happening in my life. Because intuitively we think that we deserve that. I am qualified for that. We think like that. That is why we don't ask that question. But a grateful person, a grounded person will ask that why such a good thing is happening to a bad person like me. Such a person will not ask the question why a bad thing is happening to a good person like me. So Uttanapad is saying that Badram Abhadrasya Kuto Mama. Abhadrasya, how can a rascal like me have good fortune? So this is a sign of a very grounded, humble, mature person. Such a person does not have expectation. Hmm. So Prabhupada's purport. So Prabhupada says that the Uttanapad, the king, could not at all believe that small boy of such a tender age could live in the forest. He was certain that Dhruva would be dead. Therefore, he could not fix his faith in the message of Dhruva, that Dhruva is coming back again. For him, the message was said that a dead man was coming back home. So he could not believe it. He felt that Dhruva is already dead, but he felt that Dhruva is coming back. He felt as if like dead man is coming back. Uh, that dead man is coming back alive. Uh, so King Uttanapad thought that he was the cause of Dhruva's leaving, and thus he considered himself most wretched. He thought that since he was most sinful, it was not possible for him to be so fortunate as to get back his lost son. Next shloka. Shraddhaya Vakyam Devarsher
Shraddhaya Vakyam Devarse
Harshavegena Darshitaha
Harshavegena Dharshitaha
वार्ता हर वार्ता हर्तुरति प्रीतो
Varta Harturatripti Varta Harturatriprito
हारं प्रादान् महाधनम्.
Haram Pradana Mahadharam. Translation. Although he could not believe the words of the messenger, he had full faith in the word of the great sage Narad. Thus he was greatly overwhelmed by the news, and he immediately offered the messenger a highly valuable necklace in great satisfaction.
So Dhruva Maharaj, whoever gave that message, the Uttanapad, whoever gave that message, he gave a valuable necklace. Shraddaya Vakyam Devarsher, but believing the words of Narada. Because Narada Muni had told Uttanapad, your son is well protected by the Supreme Lord. Deva, I think the previous chapter we read, he is protected by the Supreme Lord. Very soon his fame will spread all over the world. So having faith in the words of Narada, overwhelmed with outburst of joy, Harsha Vegena Darshitaha, greatly pleased, Atipritaha, Haram Pradat, Mahadanam. He gave a Varta Hartu means Varta means news. Varta Hartuhu. That means the bearer of the news. To the bearer of the news, Haram Pradat. He gave a valuable necklace to the bearer of the news. I'll read the next shloka. Sadashvam Ratamaruhya Karta Swarapariskritam Brahmanai Kula Paryastomatya Bandhubihi Shankadundubinadena Brahmaghoshena Venubihi Nishchakrama Puraturnam Puraturnam Atmajhabhikshanotsukaha. Need the translation.
The king Uttanapad, being very eager to see the face of his lost son, mounted a chariot drawn by excellent horses and bedecked with golden filigree, taking with him many learned brahmanas, all the elderly personalities of his family, his officers, his ministers, and his immediate friends. He immediately left the city. As he proceeded in this parade, there were auspicious sounds of conch shell, kettle drums, flutes, and the chanting of Vedic mantras to indicate all good fortune.
So we see nice description of Uttanapad was so excited. He did not go alone. He went with the Brahmanas. He went with the elders in the family, Kulavruddai, Amatya Bandhu. He went with the relatives. Hmm. And there were nice musical instruments were being played. Atmaja Abhikshana Utsukaha. With a great eagerness, enthusiasm to see his son. Nishchakrama Puraturnam. He hastily came out of the city. And then further it is described that Suniti Suruchis Chasya Mahishyau Rukma Bhushite Aruhya Shibikam Sardam Uttamena Abhi Jagmatuhu. So Suniti and Suruchi, the two queens, Rukma Bhushite, ornamented with gold, Aruhya Shibikam Sardam, mounting a palanquin along with Uttama, Uttamena, Abhijagmatuhu also went out. So we see that Suruchi also, uh, Suruchi also got transformed. Suruchi also went to see Dhruva. The two queens along with Uttama got in a palanquin. So we can see the greatness of Suniti. The person responsible for Dhruva going to the forest is Suruchi. Suruchi's harsh words. Normally, when such a person who is responsible, who committed such a harm to our own son, you would not even want to see the face of such a person. But Suniti got in the same palanquin along with Suruchi. Along with Suruchi. This shows the greatness of Suniti actually. Vishwanath Chakravarti says that from that day on, from the day when Dhruva left the palace, the king felt remorse and comforted by Narada, the Uttanapad showed favor to Suniti after that. And Uttanapad did not show favor to Uttama's mother Suruchi. Uttanapad felt repentant. He stopped showing favor to Suruchi after that incident. But Suniti endowed with the best behavior, Suniti. She had Suruchi and her son ride in her palanquin. So this shows the character of Suniti actually. Prabhupada also highlights that in the purport. That was the greatness of Suniti, the mother of a great Vaishnava Dhruva Maharaj. So Suniti did not hesitate to take the other wife Suruchi and Uttama on the lap. So this shows that how the broad-mindedness and forgiving tendency of Suniti, great conduct, that is shown here. When the Suruchi was given favor, at that time Suruchi completely ensured that Suniti is like not taken care of. Suniti is neglected, and Suniti's son is neglected. Uh, that's the nature of a conditioned soul. Conditioned soul uh, tends to exploit another person's attachment towards him or her. But on the other hand, Suniti, Uttanapad, after that incident, Uttanapad started showing favor to Suniti. But Suniti did not exhibit the tit for tat attitude. Rather, she exhibited a great exemplary character by taking Suruchi along with her. Next shloka. Tam drish, 40 to 43 will recite together. Tam दृष्ट्वोपवनाभ्यास आयान्तं तरसारतात् अवरुह्य नृपस्तूर्णम् आसाद्य प्रेम विह्वलः परिरेबेङ्गजं दोर्भ्यां दीर्घोत्कण्ठमणाश्वसन् विश्वक्सेनाङ्घ्रि संस्पर्श हताशेषाघबन्धनम्.
Upon seeing Dhruva Maharaj approaching the neighboring small forest, King Uttanapad, with great haste, got down from his chariot. He had been very anxious for a long time to see his son Dhruva, and therefore, with great love, his long lost boy. Breathing very heavily, the king embraced him with both arms. But Dhruva Maharaj was not the same as before. He was completely sanctified by spiritual advancement due to having been touched by the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So we see Tam Drishtva, seeing his son, Tam Drishtva Upavana. Upavana means a garden or a grove. Upavana Abhyasha. Tam Drishtva Upavana Bhyase. Abhyase means near. Seeing Dhruva approaching near a garden. Abhyasa Ayantam. Tarasa. Tarasa means Tarasa Ratat. Avaruhya Nripasturnam Asadya Prema Vihvalaha. The king who was Parirebe Angajam Dorbhyam Dirga Utkantamana. Dirga Utkantamana means the king was longing for Dhruva for a long time. And therefore, he started breathing heavily. Shwasan. He started breathing heavily. And Turnam, immediately he stopped the chariot. Tarasa Ratat Avaruhya. Immediately got down from the chariot and approached the boy. Prema Vikfala, overwhelmed with affection. What did he do? Parirebe. Angajam Dorbhyam. With his arms he embraced Dhruva. With his arms he embraced Dhruva. And then especially the last two lines are very important. Vishwaksenangri Samsparsha Hatasheshaga Bandhanam. Vishwaksena is the name of Vishnu. So Vishwaksenangri Samsparsha Hata Ashesha Agabandhanam. Dhruva, by the touch of the Lord's lotus feet. Touching of the Lord's lotus feet means by performing devotional service. By the performance of devotional service, Ashesha Agabandhanam Hata. Dhruva had destroyed unlimited sins by the touch of the Lord's lotus feet. Uttanapad embraced that Dhruva. So Vishwaksenangri Samsparsha Hatasheshaga Bandhanam is an adjective for Dhruva. That Dhruva who had destroyed unlimited sins by the touch of the Lord's lotus feet, by performing devotional service to the Lord. That's a beautiful shloka. I think in the fourth canto, 20th chapter. No, 21st chapter. Let me just. Prithu Maharaj's instruction to his citizens. Um, hmm. हाँ 4.21.32 विनिर्दुता शेषमणोमलपुमान् असंग विज्ञान विशेष वीर्यवान् यदंग्रिमूले कृतकेतन पुनर् न संस्मृतिं क्लेशवहां प्रपद्यते. So in this shloka, yeah, in this shloka and also the previous, in this shloka, Prithu Maharaj says that Vinirduta Ashesha Manomala. When a devotee takes shelter at the lotus feet of Supreme Lord, he is completely cleansed of the unlimited sins. He is completely cleansed of all the misunderstanding or mental speculation, and he manifests renunciation. This is possible only when one is strengthened by practicing Bhakti Yoga. Once having taken shelter at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, a devotee never comes back to this material existence which is full of threefold miseries. Na samsmritim kleshavaham prapadyate. Another shloka, the previous shloka, 4.21.31. Yatpada seva abhiruchistapasvinam ashesha janmopachitam malam diyah. This verse only I want to quote. सद्यक्षिणोत्यन्व अन्वहमेदती सती यथा पदांगुष्टविनिसृता सरित. So Prithu Maharaj says that by the inclination to serve the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, suffering humanity can immediately sadhyakshinoti, immediately cleanse the dirt which has accumulated in their minds during innumerable births. Ashesha. Ashesha Janmo Upachitim Malam Diyah. Like the Ganges water which emanates from the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord, such a process immediately cleanses the mind and thus spiritual or Krishna consciousness gradually increases. So Ashesha Janmo. So here also the word Hatash Ashesha Agabandanam. So Uttanapad embraced his son Dhruva with great eagerness. So with the last verse we'll conclude. Somebody can repeat. अताजिघ्रन् मुहुर्मूर्ध्नि
अथा जिग्रन् मुहुर्मुहुर्दिन् मुहुर्मुर्दिन्
मुहुर्मूर्ध्नि
मुहुर्मुर्ध्नि
शीतैर्नयनवारिभिः
शीतेर्नयनवारिभिः
स्नापयामास तनयम्
स्नापयामास तनयम्
जातोद्धाममनोरथः.
जातो धाम मनोरथः. Translation. Reunion of Dhruva Maharaj fulfilled King Uttanapad's long-cherished desire, and for this reason he smelled Dhruva's head again and bathed him with torrents of very cold tears.
So we see Ata Ajigran. Ajigran means smelled. Muhuhu, again and again. Murdni. He smelled the head of Dhruva because Jata Uddama Manoratai. His greatest desire is fulfilled. He was longing to see his son. His greatest desire, he thought that his son is dead. His greatest desire fulfilled the king smelled his son's head again and again. And Sheetair Nayanavaribihi. He started shedding tears, and especially Sheetaid is mentioned. He shed cold tears. And with his cold tears, Snapayamasa, he bathed Dhruva. He bathed his son Dhruva. Huh. So, usually when hot tears come from the eyes when a person is in distress, cold tears come when a person is in happy mood. Prabhupada says that. So the tears coming from from the eyes are very cold and pleasing, whereas tears in times of distress are very hot. And then how Dhruva is received by Uttanapad, we will see that in the next class. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, this Bhartahari also speaks, no, about disgust, many of his shlokas.
Bhartruhari. He speaks, Bhartruhari has written 3 Shatakas. Niti Shataka, Shringara Shataka, and Vairagya Shataka. 100 shlokas on Niti and 100 shlokas on Shringara Shataka. That means Shringar Rasa, the relation between man and woman. And then when he developed renunciation, he wrote 100 shlokas on Vairagya Shataka. So, but Jugupsa Rati, especially we are talking about when a person has experienced a superior taste of Krishna Bhakti. As a result of Krishna Bhakti, a person experiencing disgust towards sense gratification. That comes in the category of Jugupsa Rasa. But there are like Bhartruhari is not, or Bhartruhari or many other people who may be good, maybe great people, saintly people, but they are not counted as a pure Vaishnavas as such. At least I don't know. So they may also, in the those who are practicing Jnana Marga, sometimes they may also develop a disgust towards sense gratification. That's not considered as a Jugupsa Rati. Especially the Jugupsa Rati we are talking about as a result of superior taste in Krishna Bhakti, when a person experiences disgust, that is a Jugupsa Rati. There is a famous shloka of Bhartruhari. Bhartruhari was, I can locate that shloka. Bhartruhari was infatuated with a woman, or a king was Bhartruhari, or some other king was infatuated with a woman. But then later he came to know, and he gave one ring to that woman as a praise, as a gift. But later the ring which he gave to that woman, and that ring was given by some other person to Bhartruhari. And he was surprised. This ring I gave as a gift to this particular lady. How did this ring come in the hand of this person? And at that time he came to know that I was actually attached to this woman, so therefore I gave this ring as a gift to this woman. But this woman, in her mind, she was attached to some other man, and she gave that ring to that particular man. And that man, in his mind, he was attached to some other woman, and he gave that ring to that particular woman. And that woman was attached to some other man in her mind, and she gave that ring to that particular man. And like that, and finally, some other women after going through different cycle, received that same ring from some other women to him. And that time it dawned upon him that I was so infatuated with this lady, and I did so much for this lady. I gave this gift, but actually she was attached to somebody else. And then he realized that how the nature of the world sometimes, how different people are attached to somebody else, although externally being with another person. At that time, the Vairagya dawned upon him, and then he spoke the Vairagya Shataka. The Vairagya Shataka, this first shloka comes. I can share that shloka later. I can locate that very beautiful shloka.
Thank you for the clarification. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. So we'll stop here. ग्रंथरा श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, गौर भक्त वृंद की जय।